folks, happy Friday and welcome to the Freedom from the Press podcast. My name is Jason Robertson and I'm here with my partner in crime,
Todd Peterson. Jason, I always love your energy to kick off the show. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. We got Kagan Girl in the house, waiting to see the whole crew over at Rumble. And folks, we are on Facebook, we are on YouTube, we are on X. Head over to Rumble at the American Tribune. That's our channel. That's where we're growing a podcast community. You're going to see all the folks jumping in today. But Jason, what a show. We have had a wild week of confirmation hearings.
I got to say, I love it. You know, it's funny. You talk about that intro. I'm sitting here. I got my Split Rock coffee, promo code Todd10. You can get the lighter the roast, the more caffeine, just so you know. But I listened to that intro music, that song that you picked. Like, we can never change that. I feel like a pro wrestler. Like, I'm back there, like Hulk Hogan it up, ready to tear my shirt. Like, let's go.
And I got episode too.
What's that?
We should do that one episode.
Oh my! I'm sure the audience would love to see Todd and I shirtless. Like, we'll save that for our OnlyFans channel.
Only fools.
Only fools. Yes. It'll be us doing household chores. Here we are.
And the rest of the audience just signed off there. What are Jason and Todd talking about today? I thought I was going to get clips of Pete Hegseth, Pam Bondi, just running amok over these. Jason, I can't even describe these videos. Like, we know Democrats are insane. We know they lie. We know they hoax. We know they gaslight. We know they're just awful human beings. And the way they presented themselves, they just took it to another level. They will never learn. They'll never correct themselves. This is just who they are. I can't think of just a worse collection of human beings.
Oh, my God. Yeah. As we prep for Friday's show, it's like this will be the easiest show to prep for ever. These hearings are just Democrats just making complete and utter asses of themselves. And I got to say, as you watch this, and I was talking about it with Wayne on the podcast I do during the week, your Democrat elite politicians are completely losing the script, I think, from average Democrat voters. You know, they're up there. They're bringing up Pete Hegseth, you drank too much, or Pam Bondi, are you going to weaponize the Department of Justice? And it's just comical. And I can just feel average Democrat voters, not the crazy ones, not the blue-haired cat ladies, but your normal Democrat neighbor that pays his taxes and mows his lawn. He's watching this and he's like, who are these idiots that we have in charge of the party?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me. So I never watched Friends, but if you watched any sitcoms, I always use Friends because it was bad from the beginning and it got even worse. Like, they always develop these ideas in a sitcom. You got funny characters, they do their thing. But as they write more and more seasons to the show, they always have to like take that insanity and just the quirkiness to a whole nother level. And by the end of any long running sitcom, you've just got absurd situations with farcical characters. They're not relatable anymore. They're not funny. It's not grounded. I feel like we're seeing that play out with these Democrats because they had already lost the plot. And as Trump keeps winning and as they keep losing, their ideas and what they say and how they act, it just gets more and more absurd as we go along. And yeah, to your point, Jason, Democrat voters have always been here. And then these elite politicians just get farther and farther along trying to like grasp onto something. It is wild to watch.
Oh my God. Where do we start? We probably got to start with Pete Hegseth, don't we, Todd?
I think we got to start with Pete. And folks, just an FYI, we have so many clips today. They wouldn't fit in our video library where we stream. So I'm going to be scrolling through just pages of videos to find the right ones here, but we've got some Hegseth for you here. Why don't we start with his opening statement? Pete Hegseth wows the room is how it's titled. Let's dive into this.
Yeah, hey, shout out. We got Petey on the Rumble.
Defense under Donald Trump will achieve peace through strength. And in pursuing these America First national security goals will remain patriotically apolitical and stridently constitutional. Unlike...
All right, I got to pause it here, Jason. I saw Michael Knowles go on the Megyn Kelly show and just lay into, this is Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia. Remember, he was Hillary's running mate in 2016. But Jason, the haircut, what is happening here? Like we can make fun of Democrats at every single level, as silly as a haircut or a style, to the glasses on the forehead, to when we get to Mazie Hirono, folks, just buckle up. Mazie Hirono, the dumbest senator in Washington, D.C. by far. But my goodness, he looks like the Joker is what Michael Knowles said, the Jack Nicholson Joker.
Well, and I got to say, as he's asking about sexual impropriety, aren't you looking at that guy going, I don't know if I'd let him babysit my kids.
Well, and what's crazy, I think we actually have a Tim Kaine clip for you today, but he goes after Pete Hegseth's behavior in marriages. Uh, Tim Kaine
Right.
ran with Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton is married to Bill, known to do a few things outside of marriage. Tim Kaine had no problem taking photographs with Bill, running with Hillary. There's a photograph of him with Doug Emhoff. Emhoff famously got his nanny pregnant, allegations that he hit a girlfriend. Tim Kaine didn't mind that. But when it comes to Pete Hegseth, being a dude, having a consensual relationship, suddenly that's a bridge too far. So that's
Right.
Here we go.
The current administration, politics should play no part in military matters. We are not Republicans. We are not Democrats. We are American warriors. Our standards will be high and they will be equal, not equitable. That's a very different word. We need to make sure every warrior is fully qualified on their assigned weapon system, every pilot's fully qualified and current on the aircraft they are flying, and every general or flag officer is selected for leadership or promotion purely based on performance, readiness, and merit. Leaders at all levels will be held accountable, and warfighting and lethality and the readiness of the troops and their families will be our only focus. This has been my focus ever since I first put on the uniform as a young Army ROTC cadet at Princeton University in 2001. I joined the military because I love my country and felt an obligation to defend it. I served with incredible Americans in Guantanamo Bay, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, and on the streets of Washington, D.C., many of which are with me here today.
I don't know about you, Jason. That sounds really controversial. I can't believe he's saying any of that. You want to have a strong military and you want to treat everybody fairly? I can't believe it. Trump is he's such an outlier. This doesn't represent the American people at all. I can't believe we're going to have Pete Hegseth.
Well, and I gotta say, as I look at the selection of Pete Hegseth, this is exactly what I think members of the military and American citizens want. And here's what I mean. You can see the bifurcation of the military elite leadership class with these fat, out of shape idiots like we've had running the military. And then you see guys like Pete who've been in the mud and the slug doing all the awful things Lloyd Austin couldn't do. And he wants to protect those soldiers. And like they're trying to smear the guy about women in active duty. And I mean, the fact of the matter is, if you have to lower the bar so that they can perform active duty, they shouldn't be doing active duty. People's lives are on the line. That doesn't mean they can't serve in the military. That doesn't mean they can't have a career. That doesn't mean they can't do things. They shouldn't have to lower the bar to do it. And this should not be a controversial statement. Todd, if you're going into an active war zone, do you want to know the person next to you is 100% fit and able to handle what's coming?
Seems like a bare minimum requirement. Seems like a pretty simple ask. Can you just be qualified and capable and able when you serve next to me? Yeah, Jason, it's not anti-woman. Although I would advocate for 0 women in the military because that's what a healthy and a sane society does. Men do the fighting, but that being aside, we have women in the military now. Just set a standard. Hey guys, you men and women do the same number of push-ups, run the same time in a mile. Like if you can meet those standards, great. But lowering the standard gets people killed. Again, why is this controversial?
Right. Well, and this may be a little controversial and some of our audience may not like it, but I got to say, like women in the military is one thing. Women in combat roles is something different because if men are hardwired to protect their women. And this is just advice to the ladies out there. If your man isn't programmed to, I'm going to protect and take care of my woman, like he's programmed wrong. You got a defective unit, return him to the store. And when you're in a combat battle situation, you naturally have this brotherhood of people that are fighting the battle. Adding the female dynamic to it just changes the dynamics. And that's not saying that there aren't some great women veterans or there isn't a place for it. And I'm no expert. I've not served in an active combat zone, but I got to think if I did, like one of my first instincts would be to protect women. And I can see where that would denigrate the effectiveness. But hey, if we're going to say women can serve in active combat as long as they can meet the physical requirements, like I'm not the one fighting the battle. If that's what the war fighters feels right, like God love them.
Yeah. All right, Jason. So that was his powerful opening statement. Again, this is the point to make over the next 4 years. Donald Trump doing everything right. It's all led by common sense. Everything Pete Hegseth said is correct. Like there's no arguing that, but Democrats will debate it. They will argue that. They will take the other side. It's going to be amazing to watch the next 4 years because Democrats will have to defend evil, have to promote evil, have to make their policies based on evil because they have to oppose Donald Trump. Like this is where we are at, folks. Donald Trump doing the right thing for this country, the right thing for you, morally justified. It is right. So Democrats, because they have to oppose him, they're going to be on the other side. And now they defend evil policies. So it's going to be amazing to watch. To your point, Jason, like Democrat voters are just like, what is this? Who are they? What is this party? I want to vote for Democrats because I'm told to hate Donald Trump, but it's going to get harder and harder for them to do that.
Well, yeah. And I mean, Kagan girl hit the nail on the head. Trump's picks have been great. Just what we need. I got to say, if you're an American citizen and you watch that opening statement, I don't care what party you're from. You're like, this sounds great. You know what I mean? And as you see these picks go into place and passing policies that make your life better, make us more effective, make us more efficient, make life better for America, I think that's phenomenal, you know?
Yeah. All right. We got to get into the Dems looking like fools.
Oh,
this is no particular order, folks, because there's just so many just from the Hegseth hearing alone. Let us start with, should we start with Liz Warren? I think.
Oh my God, yes.
In other words, you're quite sure that every general who serves should not go directly into the defense industry for 10 years. But you're not willing to make that same pledge?
I'm not a general, Senator.
You'll be the one, let us just be clear, in charge of the generals.
Never a good sign when the entire Senate chamber erupts in laughter at your just stupid question.
And can I just say, too, Elizabeth Warren, who was one of the top 4 or 5 presidential candidates in 2020, let's not forget this. The only reason she is even in the Senate is because she lied about being a Native American to get into Harvard. Without that lie, she's not even there. Pocahontas, I do not want to hear about ethics. And Pete Hegseth brings up a great point where he's pushing to get a moratorium on senior leaders in the military to go serve military industrial contractors. And Elizabeth Warren confirmed Pete Hegseth's predecessor that, hey, Todd, what job was he doing when they pulled him out?
Was he on the board of Raytheon?
Yeah, it was Raytheon or Lockheed Martin. I'd have to look it up.
Let me look it up.
But he was actually on the board of directors at a military industrial complex thing, a defense contractor.
Raytheon,
and you have the audacity to rail on Pete Hegseth because Liz Warren, you voted for him. Like you pushed for an exclusion to pull him out of the military industrial complex role to be the head of the military. It's insane.
You just don't hate him enough. All right, here's another fantastic clip. Jason, I don't know what it is about these older white liberal women, but something's wrong with this demographic. Here is Kristen Gillibrand. Just watch.
DOD. Everything you've said in these public statements is politics. I don't want women. I don't want moms. What's wrong with a mom, by the way? Once you have babies, you therefore are no longer able to be lethal. I mean, you're basically saying women after they have children can't ever serve in the military in a combat role. It's a silly thing to say. It's a silly thing to say beneath the position that you are aspiring to. To denigrate LGBTQ service members is a mistake. If you are a sharpshooter, you're as lethal regardless of what your gender identity is, regardless of who you love. So please know this to be a true statement. So you say it was a political thing. You say it undermined us, social engineering. I don't know why someone having to publicly say or not publicly say who they love is social engineering.
I can't. Can you imagine that person being in your family and you just get, if that's your mom, they just lecture you in that nasally, just grating voice? Man.
I was gonna say the memes coming out of here are phenomenal. Like, look at Pete Hegseth's face. We've all been there where you've been talking to a crazy liberal who's just screaming and flailing and oh my gosh. And I gotta say, if like pursuing moms to go to the front lines, can we not just agree as a society that that shouldn't be the thing? And here's what I'm going to tell Kristen, the Democrat voters that are pushing for this. If you really think that like equal rights, all this stuff, make women file for selective service, make women register for the draft, make the draft be gender neutral. Like, until you're going to do that, like, go run on that, Kristen. Stand up and say, you know what? We're going to make women register for the draft. I don't think that's a good idea, but I'm just saying if you're going to follow through with this look, you can. And I want to say, too, take a note of how awful Kristen Sinema looks. Do you remember when she used to be kind of cute? Like,
Well, this is Kristen Gillibrand, not Kristen
or
Sinema.
Kristen Gillibrand, sorry. Yeah, but do you remember when she didn't look like a sea hag?
Yeah, selling your soul has a cost.
Right? It is insane.
Just remember, and again, I made the comment that they're going to have to oppose Trump, so they have to defend evil and promote evil. Like, to your point, Jason, she's advocating for new moms to go to the front lines. I can't think of anything more degrading to young women to say, like, you know what, being a mother is not worthy. Your natural role is to provide for your baby. Kristen Gillibrand wants to ignore all of that basic biology, the role of a society, and just say, go take this gun, go in the front line. You might be shot at, you might be killed, but that's okay. No healthy society is promoting putting young moms on the front lines, but that's where Democrats are now.
And to push for transgenders in the military. Like, I'm sorry, you don't need somebody on the front lines who needs to be worried about taking their estrogen pills or, you know, whatever things they need to do to maintain their mental instability. Like, you don't need that in a military unit.
As Secretary of Defense, you will swear an oath to the Constitution and not an oath to any man, woman, or president, correct?
Senator, on multiple occasions, including as a young second lieutenant, I have sworn an oath to the Constitution,
yes.
and I'm proud to do so. Yes, ma'am.
In June of 2020, then President Trump directed former Secretary of Defense Mark Esper to shoot protesters in the legs in downtown D.C., an order Secretary Esper refused to comply with. Would you carry out such an order from President Trump?
Senator, I was in the Washington, D.C. National Guard unit that was in Lafayette Square during those
Would
events,
you carry
holding
out
a
an
riot
order to
shield on
shoot
behalf of my
protesters
country.
in the legs?
I saw 50 Secret Service agents get injured by rioters trying to jump over the fence, set the church on fire, and destroy
You know
a
what?
statue.
That sounds to me that you will comply with such an order. You will shoot protesters in the leg. Moving on. President-elect has attacked.
Can I, Jason, I don't know. Is this a true story? Like, I honestly don't know. I'm just asking to learn. Like, did Donald Trump suggest we shoot these protesters?
Oh, this is a fascinating story. Do you remember the Antifa riots during Trump's term when they burned the church down across the street?
Oh, yeah, I know the story. And then it got cleared out for the photo op, one of the hoaxes they ran.
Right. Evidently, Donald Trump, they were worried about security because Antifa was like pushing the gates. Remember, they evacuated him to the bunker?
Yeah.
And I mean, it was bad. And many Americans, I guarantee your Democrat friends don't know that this happened. But what's ironic is they'll remember, oh, yeah, we made fun of Trump because he went to the bunker. They don't realize how bad the riot was. But he asked Mark Esper if there was a non-lethal way to deal with the rioters, like shooting them in the leg or that kind of thing. Mark Esper said, no, you can't. Like, we only train people to shoot center mass. They shoot to kill, that kind of thing. So,
okay.
Yeah, so there is a kernel of truth in what she's asking, but it is not
But again, the
nowhere
way she
near.
asked it, just go out there and just blast away at their legs. Yeah, probably not the way it was communicated to Esper. Okay.
Right. And can I just ask a question? Is Mazie Hirono, is she on the spectrum or is she hammered?
So I've always wondered that. Let me think out loud with you, Jason. When she might just be that stupid. That is a
Right.
possibility. It could be a low IQ issue. Yeah, it could be a combination of on one side of the spectrum where you're a little, again, socially awkward, just kind of clueless and running around. It could be that she hangs out with Kamala Harris starting at 9 a.m. on a weekday morning. So I don't know. Take your pick. I'm kind of on board with all three at this point.
And I got to say, if you're from Hawaii, I don't know if our audience extends to Hawaii, but I got to think, like, how do you go in and mark the box? I mean, like, Amy Klobuchar gets elected from Minnesota, and she's awful, but she can at least complete a sentence and doesn't sound completely hammered.
I don't know. She's pretty shaky when she talks.
Yeah, that's because she's nervous. Hey, I got to give a shout out, too, to Victoria on Facebook. As a woman, I do not agree with women in combat. However, if a woman wants to serve, I think it's her choice and she should do it. But there are many variables for women in combat, biological barriers, so it's not a good idea. If a woman wants to be involved in the military, there's so many options to be involved and not be in combat. That would be my recommendation as a woman, but it's not me, so that's it. You know, Victoria, totally common sense solution. Take all the politics, all the nonsense out of it. That should be a principle everybody should agree with. And any woman that's going to be screaming like, oh, no, we need to be in combat, I don't even know what to tell you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're going to save you from yourself. No, you're not allowed to be in comment. You can whine all you want, scream all you want. I'm not putting you on the front line, lady. It's the end of it.
Right.
Yeah, here's an interesting comment, too, because, you know, you asked the question, Jason, how do we end up with Mazie Hirono? And I am with Dee Dee, probably because the Republican is a worse choice. I don't think folks fully appreciate just how bad some of the candidates that the Republican Party finds are. There are just useless human beings that run as a Republican. And again, I don't know why we don't have patriots all over the country. You and I talk about Brandon Gill, Jason, young up-and-coming guy out of Texas. He's going to do great things in the House. We need more of this. We just need good, positive energy. But you find these old, corrupt Republicans, they're uniparty, they're establishment. And how are they convincing? And especially because Mazie's promising free everything. How do you vote against free everything as a Democrat?
Well, and it's funny, too, because I go back to my early corporate days. I was a big box retail store manager. So one of those big stores where you got like 400, 500 employees, you know, 20, 30, 40 managers. And I look at somebody like Mazie and I kind of think to myself, like, would this be a cashier, a cart attendant? Would I be able to make her a department supervisor? Could I trust her to manage the cafe in the front of the store? You know, could she run, you know, the snack bar? Could she be the HR manager? Like, I don't know if I can get her much past a full-time department associate. Like, I just in my brain looking at her competence level.
And if I go in my education background world, Jason, I don't think I can put her any higher than like one of my special ed classes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like you would hire her for a janitor, you know,
Yeah.
she could.
This is nothing against janitors. I loved my janitorial staff. Great people. Always talk to them. Like they're more real than the woke teachers that are just like not even human anymore. So yeah, not making fun of janitors, but that would be Mazie's station.
Right. Oh, Mazie.
All right, Jason, we got to delete Sandra here because, Sandra is saying hello in the chat, guys. Don't talk to Sandra. We're going to delete her.
Sandra's going to say how cute you are and how interesting you are, and please send me a DM.
All right, I think we have a little more Mazie meltdown. I'm going to continue with this clip.
Allies in recent weeks, refusing to rule out using military force to take over Greenland and the Panama Canal, and threatening to make Canada the 51st state. Would you carry out an order from President Trump to seize Greenland, a territory of our NATO ally Denmark, by force, or would you comply with an order to take over the Panama Canal?
Senator, I will emphasize that President Trump received 77 million votes to be the lawful commander-in-chief of this country.
We're not talking about the election.
7 million votes to be the lawful.
All right, I just got to say, you got to see Pete smiling at these answers.
We're not talking about the election. My question is, would you use our military to take over Greenland or an ally of
Look at this face.
Denmark.
She can't even talk. And honestly, I think the worse these Dem senators are, just how stupid they come across, like it makes it easier. Jason, when you're in arguments with these leftists, the more insane they get, the more rational and calm you become because you're just fully aware of how insane all of it is. I think Democrats made it easy for Pete to be restrained, to be calm, because he can just laugh in his head at all this nonsense and then just come across as even more rational. So I do think this helped him.
Wouldn't you like to have like the thought bubble on Pete where he's like, is this idiot? Notice I used idiot instead of the R word, Todd.
I noticed
dodged
that, yeah.
the bullet 26 minutes in. But is this idiot really thinking we're going to load up the military and go take over Greenland? Which, by the way, like the leaders in Greenland have come out and said, we want to talk to Trump about structuring a deal. Donald Trump wants Greenland for the shipping lanes, for the rare earth minerals. 50,000 people's all that live in Greenland. We could give each $1 million and it's pennies on the dollar for what we've given Ukraine, you know, and we could be leasing all the rights in Greenland. At no point did Donald Trump ever insinuate that. Same with Panama Canal. Now that one might get a little dicier because frankly, the Communist Chinese Party, CCP, has taken over the Panama Canal. That might get dicey, but does Macy not know that? Does she not know that she's either idiot or incompetent?
Senator, one of the things that President Trump is so good at is never strategically tipping his hand. And so I would never in this public forum give one way or another direct what orders the president would give me in any context.
That sounds to me that you would contemplate carrying out such an order to basically invade.
You know what's crazy? She makes it sound bad all of a sudden to engage in a foreign conflict. I don't know about you, Jason. Where have we been the last 4 years vis-a-vis foreign conflict? So suddenly, that's a bad idea. Even though I can say with certainty, if we invaded Greenland, there would be zero resistance. What are they going to do if we had naval boats load up and just GIs running out of there?
We could even probably have the trannies, like the tranny brigade, go take over Greenland. Like,
all right, you guys want to be in the military? Tranny battalion, off you go.
Right, we send the rainbow ships. You know, they pull up. They got their pride flags. They flop up the open. They would be greeted as liberators from Denmark.
Yeah, it just blows my mind. The last 3 years actually. We're coming up on 3 years of Eastern Europe conflicts. I'm not going to say the U word still on Facebook, but that's fine. Hundreds of billions of dollars. How many lives lost that are Eastern European ethnicity? But oh no, he wants to engage in this foreign conflict. How awful. How awful. Yeah, these people have zero principles every single time this happens.
Well, and actually Kevin hits it on the head, and I think this is where your normal Democrat neighbor's at. She's can't understand normal thinking. And I think that's where you'll see a lot of these people landing on. Like a normal Democrat's like, Donald Trump wants to get the shipping lanes and the rare earth
military base up there.
Right. We need rare earth minerals for EVs, and Greenland has them. Like, do you think we're really going to load up the military? But I still think Tranny Force could do it.
Greenland and take over the Panama Canal. I just want to note that the other area that of serious concern to me is President Trump saying that he wants to use the military to help with mass deportations, which will cost billions of dollars.
Again, suddenly we're concerned about government spending. Amazing how we're always concerned about government spending when Trump wants to spend it, but when Joe Biden's in office, don't worry about it.
Oh, Todd, just wait before we go. We have our first troll, Joseph Wall. Welcome to the Freedom from the Press podcast, Joseph. Everybody say prayers for Joseph. Anybody who thinks the incoming administration cares for anybody but the 1% is ignorant at an unprecedented level. Trump's cabinet nominees aren't fit to be dog walkers, let alone the top positions in government officials. Todd, I love it. We have a winner.
I love the trolls. This is my favorite part of the show. Thank you for your comment. A little bit of a coward. I don't see a Facebook photo up there, Joseph. Rocking the blank generic, but that's okay. Thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting. Jason, you want to take this first?
Down. Donald Trump had 52 billionaires supporting him. How many did Kamala have?
More.
90 something. I believe it's 93. Okay. And you say these people aren't qualified. Every single person Donald Trump has nominated has gone in the private sector, built a business, amassed a fortune, which is why guys like Joseph hate them, right? Because, oh, they're the top 1%. These are people who actually went out into America and did something with themselves compared to Nazi Haroma. Nazi Haroma, has she ever done anything? Has she created a job? Has she generated a W-2? Has she done any of that? No, she's been a political hack for years. And she's going to serve in there until they wheel her out in a stretcher.
Yeah, and I'm tired of playing defense. Joseph, how has supporting Joe Biden and Kamala Harris benefited you in the last 4 years? Has your job paid you more? Is housing cheaper? Is the border safer? Do we have money going overseas everywhere? Are the state threatening to take your kids? Like, Joe Biden's administration, I won't even debate it, has been so much worse than Donald Trump's. You can't even put a number on it. But sure, I'm ignorant because I think Donald Trump only cares about the 1%. I'm living in real life, Joseph. Everything is worse under Joe Biden, but you supported him and you voted for Kamala Harris. But again, I have to ask the question, Jason. I hope Joseph's in the chat. What is your definition of qualified, Joseph? What's your definition of a qualified cabinet nominee? And then let's talk about Joe Biden's nominees and compare them to Donald Trump's nominees. So let us know your definition. You let me know how Lloyd Austin was qualified, how Merrick Garland was qualified, all of them. Let me know how they were all qualified.
I'm in better shape than Lloyd Austin. And I'm in terrible shape. Like, can you imagine being this big fat dude going up to some military guy going, okay, boys, we got to go send you to go die on some beach somewhere. It is insane.
Yeah, I just want to say we got a Fally says a little hello to Joy. Look, we're a welcoming community. Welcome aboard, Joy. We want to educate you a little bit. Gianna Olds has been active in the chat today. Gianna, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for commenting. Kev made it today. A round of applause for educating
Kev's here.
our friend Joseph. Love Kev's. And then we got Bob here, who Hieronius should stay in Hawaii. Yeah, she should never leave the island. She should have no role in politics. Let's say that.
Absolutely. And then we had Jenna with a great comment in Rumble, but I probably can't share it because on some of these platforms, they may not like it. We'll save it for the Rumble only part.
Rumble only. Yeah, but let's know, Joseph, you let me know what qualified means, and then you let us know how having less billionaire support for Donald Trump than Kamala Harris somehow makes him more concerned about the 1%.
Right.
Yeah, a little. I don't think Joseph's going to reply, Jason.
No, I think Joseph's probably a bot. That or he's. Oh, I wanted to say the R word, Todd. Your wife, like, she's getting me very in tune to not using the R word.
Yeah, I'm just reading some comments here. I think Maisie does one more stupid thing.
And
Yeah.
and what that will do to readiness is very, very concerning.
Oh, she just says it's very concerning that we're going to deport people. Doesn't say why. Doesn't say why it's better to have them here, but, you know, a little emotional blackmail. It's concerning that we're going to deport families.
Not concerning to me at all.
It's concerning that they're here, but all right. Jason, we are half an hour in. We have so many videos to play here. So we should do. Well, I like this one from Mark Wayne. Here we go.
Oh, Mark Wayne Mullins.
I'd like to submit for the record signatures by 32 members of the House of Representatives who are veterans. The signatures call on the Senate to honor the constitutional duty of advise and consent by conducting a fair, thorough confirmation process that evaluates his nomination solely on the substance and merits, his distinguished military service, academic credentials in the state, and you're a citizen of the United States to be a senator. Other than the fact we got to convince a lot of people to vote for us. And then when we start talking about qualifications for if you're qualified for it, could the chairman tell me what the qualifications are for the Secretary of Defense? Mr. Chairman, could you tell me what the qualifications are for the Secretary of Defense?
I'd be happy
I'll read it.
for you to do that.
Yeah. Let me read it for you because I Googled
I
it.
was getting some advice from
I
my
understand
second
that.
in command.
Yeah, but I'm just making a point because there's a lot about qualifications, and I think it's so hypocritical of senators, especially on the other side of the aisle, be talking about his qualifications, not being able to lead the secretary or be the Secretary of Defense, and yet your qualifications aren't any better. You guys aren't any more qualified to be the senator than I'm qualified to be the senator, except we're lucky enough to be here. But let me read you what the qualifications of the Secretary of Defense is, because I Googled it, and went through a lot of different sites, and really it's hard to see. But in general, the U.S. Secretary of Defense position is filled by a civilian. That's it. If you have served in the U.S. Army Forces and have been in the service for...
I guarantee none of the Democrat senators know that.
Yeah, you'd think that would be one of the things they do. Like, hey, let's see what the list. Because I mean, it was funny. I had replied to a tweet thread where a senator was talking about, like, if you showed up for a job interview, this is not a job interview. It is not the senator's choice to pick Donald Trump's nominees. It is their job to advise and consent. Meaning, if you think he's bad, you get to say, I don't think this is the right person. And consent, meaning once you've informed them, unless there's some egregious reason to preclude them from serving in this job, you should approve them. I mean, you can voice your opinion. Hey, Trump, I think this is a bad choice. This is why. But you should still vote to confirm them. You know, your job isn't to select the Trump cabinet.
Yeah. Do you know when the job interview took place? It's when Trump sat down with Pete Hegseth and said, "You're hired." Now it's the formality of going through.
Right. Oh, we got to listen to the back half of Mark Wayne.
Tired for at least 7 him through that mistake. And I'm sure you've had to forgive him too. And so thank you. So before I go down this rabbit hole again, tell me something about your wife that you love. You're going to be running nations that you did have the privilege of running. And surround yourself with people that are smarter and
Take it down the field.
has heard the bullets crack over the top of his head, has been willing to go into combat, been willing to see friends die for this. Any of you guys asked him to step down and reduce?
Oh, here we go.
The senator from Virginia starts bringing up the fact that what if you showed up drunk to your job? How many senators have showed up drunk to vote at night?
Look at Coach
Have any of you
Tuberville's
guys
face.
asked them to step down and resign from their job? And don't tell me you haven't seen it, because I know you have. And then how many senators do you know have got a divorce before cheating on their wives? Did you ask them to step down? No. But it's for show. You guys make sure you make a big show and point out the hypocrisy because the man's made a mistake. And you want to sit there and say that he's not qualified? Give me a joke. I mean, it is so ridiculous that you guys hold yourself as this higher standard and you forget you got a big plank in your eye. We've all made mistakes. I've made mistakes. And Jennifer, thank you for loving him through that mistake. Because the only reason why I'm here and not in prison is because my wife loved me too.
I gotta say, I love watching Coach Tuberville in that video. We get him on the Wayne Dupree podcast every 3-4 weeks, and he's just the greatest guy. And when he watches Mark Wayne Mullen, who I'm not convinced Mark Wayne's a good guy, he's making some good sound clips right now, so we'll go with it. But like Kamala Harris was hammered half her presidential campaign, and not one Democrat comes out and goes like, maybe Kamala's drinking problem's bad. And here you're going to try to throw Pete Hegseth out for drinking however many years ago. It is insane.
Yeah, I don't know about you, Jason. I see. I wasn't in the military, so I don't know. But guys in the military, they never drink. So Pete Hegseth is an outlier. I can't believe he drank in the military. That's not allowed. That doesn't happen.
Oh my gosh. Well, should we go to the Pam Bondi?
Yeah, we got to head over to Bondi. There were a few other moments from Hegseth, but we got to get to all of it here today. Here we go. And I said I had to scroll a little bit. Should we do more Maisie with Pam Bondi this time?
Yeah.
Why is she on all these committees?
Oh, we love Maisie.
During the election, during the campaign, first, are the felons convicted of breaking into the Capitol on January 6th hostages or patriots? I'm quoting Trump. As President-elect Trump has said repeatedly, do you agree with his characterization of the felons that I referred to?
I am not familiar with that statement, Senator.
I just familiarized you with that statement. Do you agree with that statement?
I'm not familiar with it, Senator.
No answer. He has also said,
Oh, just wait, Todd. I got to play this game. Okay, everybody, look at Pam Bondi. And then look at Kristen Gillibrand. And let me know in the chat which one's older. All right, we can get back to her. Oh, I got to find it.
also
God, I
said,
screwed up.
illegal immigration is poisoning the blood of our nation. He said that in December 2023. Do you agree with that statement?
Senator, I am not familiar with that statement, but what I can tell you is I went to the border a few months ago. I went to Yuma, Arizona, and what I saw at that border was horrific, Senator. It was horrific.
Ms. Bondi,
I went to a rape crisis center.
that
If
is
I could
not my
finish,
question.
I went to a rape crisis center. Well, I'm not familiar with the statement, but I
get
went to a
to
rape
the
crisis
next-
center. I
Let me
met
get to
with
the
Border
important-
Patrol
Perham?
agents. I'm sure you've been to the
Ms.
border
Bondi,
as well, so
I
you
want to
could
get
answer
to my
that.
next question. So,
It's all a show. They don't care. They want to say their gotcha question. We got a great moment with Pam Bondi naming that. You're trying to get a gotcha question, Adam Schiff, but they don't want to hear answers. Maisie's probably never been to the border. She doesn't care. Democrat voters can't conceptualize how awful the border is.
Right.
Man.
And I got to say, as you compare those two, Pam Bondi, 59 years old, Kristen, 58 years old.
Woof.
Yeah, that's crazy. And here's what's funny too with like Maisie talking about things. So one of the first policies Trump is reinstituting is DNA testing. So if you show up at the border with a child, they DNA test the child and you to see if it's really your child. I got to say, all these people coming over with no ID, you don't know who they are. How is this a controversial position? And Maisie Hiroma opposed that. Like, it is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. And talking about the January 6th people, you really think that there should be Americans locked up for 3 or 4 years what happened on January 6th? You are an awful person. Like, I don't want to share a country with you if that's what you do. And I'm not saying, like, even if it were Democrats that did a protest like that, I wouldn't think they should get 3 years without a trial. Like, that is as un-American as it gets.
Yeah. First time offender walking in the Capitol building, and anyone thinks that 3 years is an appropriate time for that? Like, get out of here. But again, Jason, I made the point. Democrats have to defend evil. You've got Mazie Hirono advocating for a wide open border because Republicans are opposed to that now.
Giddy up.
Every
I gotta
single
say, our
time.
chat on Rumble is just so
I
funny.
love the Rumble chant focused on. Let's see if we have. I think we have one more Maisie clip because Rumble loves it so much.
Oh, Kev's over there going, God, if Jason and Todd just gave us more Maisie Aroma, my day would be.
I know you're saying it. I know you're saying it. Oh, here we go. One more Maisie clip.
that you as Attorney General should investigate one of his perceived political enemies. Would you do so?
Senator Hirono, I wish you had met with me. Had you met with me, we could have discussed many things and gotten to know.
I am
You could
listening
have
to you
gotten to know
now.
me.
Could you respond to the question?
Yeah, you were the only one who refused to meet with me, Senator. But what we would have discussed is that it is the job of the Attorney General to
I'm very
follow
happy to
the
listen to
law.
your responses under oath, Ms. Bondi. So I think it's really important to us that the Attorney General be independent of the White House.
All right, here I thought AOC was the stupidest person in DC. That's Dave over on Facebook. I know, Dave, you're shocked because Maisie doesn't, she's not pretty. AOC is a pretty dumb girl and she's a Democrat, so there's a lot of angles we can take on that. Maisie you don't want to look at. Maisie you don't want to listen to, so she doesn't make as many headlines, but yes, she is quite dumb. And I love how she gets called out here. You wouldn't meet with me. Maisie, what do you want me to say? We had a chance to talk and you avoided me.
Well, and here's what I love too is how Maisie's framing this question. Folks, there are people, and I don't know if we have the clip where she calls out one of the people in the DOJ that they're going to investigate. And it was somebody that lied on a FISA warrant and they suffered no consequences for it. They were prosecuted in the DOJ. They were trying to frame somebody up. They lied on a FISA warrant. I think it was part of Russiagate, if I remember right. I know somebody in Russiagate lied on a FISA warrant, but they didn't. Now, the people who are doing bad things, breaking the law, that just happen to be President Trump's political enemies, like those people are fair game to investigate. As American citizens, as a Trump voter, I want them all investigated. I want the politicians like Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi and Mazie Hirono to face 10% of the investigation that Trump has. Just 10%. Like all of them. Mitch McConnell can get 10% of the investigation Trump got. And let's see how many of these politicians end up in jail.
Yeah, they all belong in jail. Yeah, and Jason, I was on X, and I'm just like, we need to release the Epstein list. And the guy, some troll on X is like, Donald Trump's name is on there as well, right? And I'm like, yeah, did you not understand me the first time? I said, release the list. I want to see everyone's name. I don't care if they're a Democrat or a Republican. I want to know the truth. And I'm going to tell you, Jason, I don't think he's on that list.
Well, we actually wrote a piece. I don't know if it was you or Will on the Substack about that. Donald Trump and Epstein had overlap early in Epstein's rise. And then Epstein was starting to hit on the young girls at one of his golf clubs. And so Trump banned him from the property. Trump's like, yeah, we don't need your type around here. So are there records of Donald Trump and Epstein engaging? Oh, yeah, it's from years ago. And I mean, the guy was a mover and shaker. Rich people kind of run in the same circles. And as soon as they realized, or Trump realized, like getting bad vibes from the guy, he just kicked him off his properties.
Mm-hmm. There we go. And I know Maisie just said this. I'm tired of talking about Maisie. I promise this is our last clip, folks. But she wants to have an independent attorney general.
I think it's really important to us that the attorney general be independent.
Just like Merrick Garland, just like the guy that she confirmed before, I am sure Merrick Garland has been completely independent and not acting on behalf of the Biden administration, the rest of the regime. And then Kev, I'm afraid what we can pop up on her. I probably shouldn't have said the E word either. That's going to get us flagged.
Yeah, we'll wait. We'll cover that in Rumble only.
All right, we got to move on, though. There are more Pam Bondi clips here. Here is
this the Adam Schiff
every single
one?
time. I want to find the Adam Schiff one where she gets called out.
Oh, my gosh.
The problem is, folks, there are so many videos in here.
Yeah, it's fun when you do, like, some weeks we're doing, like, prep for the podcast. We're like, oh, we're wondering which video clips. Here it's like we have a million. Which one do we show?
I think this is Dick Durbin. He looked like an absolute clown, too, in these hearings.
Donald Trump has never acknowledged the legal results of the 2020 election. Are you prepared to say today under oath without reservation that Donald Trump lost the presidential contest to Joe Biden in 2020?
Ranking Member Durbin, President Biden is the President of the United States. He was duly sworn in, and he is the President of the United States. There was a peaceful transition of power. President Trump left office and was overwhelmingly elected in 2024.
Do you have any doubts that Joe Biden had the majority of votes, electoral votes necessary to be elected president?
We all do.
You know, Senator, all I can tell you as a prosecutor is from my firsthand experience. And I accept the results. I accept, of course, that Joe Biden is president of the United States. But what I can tell you is what I saw firsthand when I went to Pennsylvania as an advocate for the campaign. I was an advocate for the campaign, and I was on the ground in Pennsylvania, and I saw many things there. But do I accept the results? Of course I do. Do I agree with what happened? And I saw so much. You know, no one from either side of the aisle should want there to be any issues with election integrity in our country. We should all want our elections to be free and fair, and the rules and the laws to be followed.
I think that question deserved a yes or no. And I think the length of your answer is an indication that you weren't prepared to answer yes.
Correct.
I mean, yes, that is correct. Democrats are rarely correct, but he is right in that case. I am not going to say that.
Well, Pam Bondi, for those who don't know, going back to the 2020 election, and Todd, I'm going to push it a little bit on Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg says we won't get in trouble, so we're going to try it. The 2020 election, there were a lot of statistical anomalies, and there were a lot of procedural anomalies, especially in Pennsylvania. They passed, I mean, start with something simple. They passed extended mail-in voting that you can't pass legislatively. It needs to be voted on in an election cycle. So just that alone, they violated their state constitution. The results coming in from some of the precincts, the audits, things were really, really weird. I remember in Georgia, in Fulton County, the mail-in ballot disqualification rate dropped from a historical average of like 8 or 9% to 1%. So only 1% of the ballots got kicked out. Just a lot of weird stuff. It reminds me of the 2012 Barack Obama nomination. There was a county in Pennsylvania that went 100% to Barack Obama. And it's like, that's kind of weird. Like there wasn't a single Romney voter in that county. I mean, it's just, there were so many statistical anomalies. And Pam actually brought up an excellent point too, which you see these anomalies, they should be investigated. The evidence should have been presented in court, which no court would hear it. And American citizens should say, okay, they flush it out. These results were legit. It shouldn't be, you know, it's kind of like the hanging chads way back in the day. Like, even though people might or might not have agreed with the outcome, like they actually did a lot of due diligence flushing that out. None of that happened in 2020. And until then, I hope she opens up 2020 and goes back and investigates it myself.
Absolutely. I'll just add 2 more points to that, Jason. I love how JD Vance covers this as well. He's talking about the media's role in covering up things like the Hunter Biden laptop, how big tech would censor speech. Like the media's role in creating narratives around all the Trump hoaxes could be seen as election interference as well. And yes, it is illegitimate because voters were voting based on false premises, on false notions. And then for me, the biggest kicker is because they wanted to hide it so bad, you weren't allowed to talk about it. You would get destroyed on social media, banned, censored, kicked off, demonetized, unpublished. If you even question the results, the fact that they're asking this question right now to continue the narrative of a free and fair, as Pelosi said, the most safest and securest election ever, their response to the election is convincing enough for me that it might have had some anomalies because the truth has nothing to hide from. If they had just said, look, we want to be open with the American people. We want you to accept Joe Biden as the rightful presidential victor. Here are all of the audits that we have done. Here's all the proof. The election was on the up and up. But because they didn't, and they said things to you, did things to you, if you dared question the results, that for me is some of the hardest proof to point in, you know, the direction that Pam Bondi didn't want to answer as well. And I'm not going to say it flat out here on Facebook either, but I think people know.
Well, and I got to say, Todd and I both listen to Scott Adams, and Scott Adams has a great line, which is every citizen is innocent until proven guilty. Every government agency or employee is guilty until proven innocent, meaning the government has a responsibility to prove to us they're telling the truth, to prove to us the results are there, especially in the face of weird results. Like, you've got to explain it.
Yeah, I also love the Scott Adams line about elections. They are created to be, unknown. We are not meant to know the actual results of any election. There are too many steps along the way, too many rules in place, this and that. Like, we could never know the real results of an election because so much other stuff is taking place.
Right.
All right. I
We
think
got to finish a few more Pams.
we got to get a few more Pams here. Here's Sheldon Whitehouse. This guy is pretty unbearable. Again, it's so many people you need to hate more, but you just don't have time to see them because a few prominent congressmen, a few prominent senators take all the spotlight here. But Sheldon Whitehouse, he's another guy that you just need to revile.
Have hired someone into the Florida Attorney General's office who you knew had an enemies list.
Senator, to cut to the chase, you're clearly talking about Kash Patel. I don't believe he has an enemies list. He made a quote on TV, which I have not heard. I saw your sign, or Senator Durbin's sign, about Kash. But I know that Kash Patel has had 60 jury trials as a public defender, as a prosecutor. He has great experience in the Intel department Department of Defense. I have known Kash, and I believe that Kash is the right person at this time for this job. You'll have the ability to question Mr. Patel.
And I'm
when-
questioning you
when
right
you
now
do.
about whether you will enforce an enemies list that he announced publicly on television.
Oh, Senator,
Yes.
I'm sorry. There will never be an enemies list within the Department of Justice.
This is the narrative, Jason. They're trying to set it up. If Trump goes after anybody in the swamp, they're framing it up now as this is an enemies list. This is political retribution. He's going after his political opponents, which also you can't cry about because you have gone after political opponents for the last 4 years. We want them all targeted, not because they are Democrats, but because they are criminals. And if they happen to be Democrats as well, great. Rid the swamp of communists.
I got to say, if you want to know what Sheldon's talking about, go buy Kash Patel's book, Government Gangsters, where he breaks down crimes he believes that people committed associated with Russiagate. He names them, he lists them. And is that an enemies list, or is that a list of people that committed crimes that need to be prosecuted? And I got to say, I can't wait for the Kash Patel hearing, because Kash Patel, on top of being a pit bull, if you think Pam Bondi's pretty composed, Kash Patel, like, that is one smart dude. And he knows his stuff, and he knows the facts. Like, it is really crazy. And like I say, go look in the list Sheldon's talking about exists. Government Gangsters book. It's a great read. It lists out who did what. There's actually an appendix in the back of all the people he calls out. So, and I got to say, this is where, back to our troll from earlier, this is where Democrats are going to be funny, because they're going to see on like one like web page or newspaper, Donald Trump, 34-time convicted felon, in one headline. And then the next headline will be Donald Trump's weaponizing the Department of Justice. And their brains just instinctively are gonna, like, their brain's gonna reject that, right? It's gonna be like, wait a second. So they went after Trump, and they may not admit it. It might not get through, but it's going to happen.
And again, this is why we have the best audience. Kagan Girl writes, it sounds like to me they're just asking, are you going to do everything we just did?
Right.
Yes. However, the only difference, of course, I point well taken, Kagan Girl. Love the comment. Yes, they always project what they say and do, but the difference is they went after Donald Trump for illegitimate reasons. He committed no crimes. And if Donald Trump goes after them, as we hope he does and as he should, it's because they did commit crimes. A little bit of a difference there for our Democrat voters. Like, this was wrong and this is justified.
And Didi nails it too. The problem with Kash, he already has the evidence. Yeah, that's why they really don't want Kash Patel.
He was on Glenn Beck's show and he said he's read the 9/11 files. He's read the JFK files. This is good. It means he knows what's in there. He's prepared to release it. But at the same time, I hate how these people have access to it. Like, okay, then just let it go. Leave a PDF document on the bench somewhere and we'll pick it up. Like, I don't care how you get this information out. It's readable. It's there. We deserve to know the truth.
Right. This is so exciting.
All right. I think we got time for one more Pam, if I can find the right one. Folks, buckle up for the Rumble only section. We are going to do a montage, the best of the best Joe Biden clips, stumbling, fumbling, misspeaking, falling asleep. We have to say goodbye in the most respectful way possible to Joe Biden. So we are going to absolutely humiliate him one more time, resurface all the oldies and the goodies from the last 4 years. So you don't want to miss that. You're going to head over to Rumble right after our last Pam Bondi clip, if I can find one. Actually, I like this one a lot too. Can I go in a different direction here? We've done Pam. Oh, there's Schiff. Okay, let's do Schiff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Bondi, as you know, the Supreme Court in Trump versus United States, it is all the more happy enough for you to open an investigation of Jack Smith. Is that right?
I will look at the facts and evidence in any case. And
sitting here,
72%,
sitting here today,
Senator, 72% of Americans
please, I only have 7
lost
minutes.
faith in the Department of Justice.
Sitting here today, are you aware of any factual predicate to investigate Jack Smith? Sitting here today, yes or no?
Senator, I will look at the facts and the circumstances.
You
of
can't answer that
anything that's
question?
brought to me.
You're not a part of the department yet. There's no worry about divulging
Sure, I'm sitting
law
here as a
enforcement
nominee.
sensitive information. So just tell us,
I'm
are you
sitting here as
aware,
a nominee.
just tell us, are you aware of a factual predicate to investigate Jack Smith? Yes or no?
Senator, what I'm hearing on the news
Are
is
you aware
horrible.
of a?
Do I know if he
you seem
committed a crime?
reluctant.
I have not
You
looked
seem
at it.
reluctant to answer a simple question. Let me ask you a different simple question. The president also wants to jail Liz Cheney sitting here today.
Yes.
Are you aware of any factual basis to investigate Liz Cheney? Yes or no?
Senator, that's a hypothetical, and I'm not going to answer that
No,
question.
it's not hypothetical. I'm asking you, sitting here today, whether you are aware of a factual predicate to investigate Liz Cheney.
Senator, no one
Based
has
on what
asked
you
me
know.
to investigate Liz Cheney. That is a
The
hypothetical.
president has called for it publicly. You are aware of that, aren't you?
No one has asked me to investigate.
But the president
Liz.
has
We're
called-
also
the
worried about
president-
Liz Cheney,
the
Senator.
president has
You know
called-
what?
Yeah, this is pretty wild here. Someone, if you watch the whole clip, we're not going to do that to you guys, but Schiff spends the entire time talking about Jack Smith, J6, Liz Cheney. Why is he so concerned, Jason, about those specific investigations, I wonder? A little CYA time? Is he panicking a little bit?
Well, and here's this angle Democrats always use. So recognize the pattern. If you want to investigate Trump, there doesn't even need to be smoke for them to go look for fire, right? Like, if you look at the property thing they went after him for in New York for lying on his things, nobody complained. There were no issues. There was no smoke to even predicate the beginning of an investigation. And yet they made it up to get Trump investigated. Now they're like, where's your evidence? Where's your evidence? Well, I don't know if anybody's heard, but it's come out Liz Cheney was coaching witnesses on the January 6th committee. That would probably warrant looking into. It's come out that the January 6th committee has destroyed a bunch of evidence, communication. That probably warrants investigation. Like, all this stuff warrants investigation. And it's crazy. Oh, what do we got here?
Jason, a little breaking news. Kev, thanks for Kev shouted this out here. I didn't want to interrupt our train of thought here, but folks, you get some commentary, you get some breaking news. Donald Trump announcing that the inauguration will be held indoors. Now, you could give the benefit of the doubt and say it might be a little chilly. Don't want to be outside. You might put the tinfoil on and say there are some known credible threats. Got to keep the president safe. So interesting development. Jason's leaning towards conspiracy theory.
I got to say, and this can be how we can end up our Facebook, YouTube section and encourage everybody head over to Rumble. For those who don't know, Rumble is a video platform much like YouTube. Rumble doesn't censor us, doesn't nuke our channels for saying things, for expressing our opinion, as crazy as they might be. And I'm going to say this as nicely as I can on some of these platforms. Things are too quiet. Like, we've gone through and we've shown a bunch of idiotic Democrats looking like idiots, but just things are too quiet. This transition, like, Trump's done a great job. His team's done a great job, but Democrats aren't putting up the type of resistance I imagined. And I'm just worried at what happens between now and then. There have been reports come out about planes like scanning the DC area for radiation. Now it's coming out that they're moving the inauguration inside. There's just a lot. Like, I just, it feels like the calm before the storm, like something's ready to pop.
I'm with you on that, Jason. Oh, I was
Right.
hoping J-Rob wanted to buy one of my hats at the AmericanTribuneStore.com, but that is custom made. Jason might have to do something on Etsy there.
Yeah, I gotta say, Dee Kev, they're wondering, like, yeah, I can make these. I could ship these out. We're pretty good at the assembly piece.
Custom
of that.
size too. Just send your head size, head shape, and Jason will just mold that tinfoil for you.
Or what you could do, because I have a big round melon that's bald. So, like, I could make it in my skull size and then send it to you. And then it would be like you put it on your head, and it'd be like when you put your hat on your kid's head, and it'd be like, God, what a big cranium that guy has. Too bad there's no brains in it,
Or what you could do, Jason, is go to the AmericanTribuneStore.com, get a little merch from my show, get a little merch from our website there. You're rocking the hat. I saw you drinking out of your mug earlier, the American Tribune handy dandy. We got the 10-ounce mug, the large 15-ounce mug, whole other set of merch over there, folks. If you want to support the show, we make like $1 per every item. It's not a lot, but it's fun to have. It starts a conversation. And then you can share the podcast that we do. Say, hey, I got this mug from these guys over on Freedom from the Press. You should take a listen, my Democrat voting family member.
That's right. All right, well, let's head to Rumble because we have to really encapsulate Joe Biden. Folks, welcome to that. We'll see you in a minute on the other side.
Starting on day one, we'll implement the rapid series of bold reforms.
Yeah, we lost Jason. We lost.
I was going to say I was gone, and now I'm back. Oh my gosh!
I had the wrong clip, Jason. That's 2 weeks in a row. They look the same. What can I say? And I clicked the one on top. So sorry, folks. You saw a little intro, a little preview to my show. Maybe I'll just make a plug for it. The American Tribune Live with Todd Peterson over on Rumble. But we're still here for Freedom from the Press.
Giddy up! Yeah, I was just reading. President Biden declared the 28th Amendment, the Equal Rights Amendment. I was just, somebody sent me that, and I'm like, are you this? I'll have to dig into that. But we're back. And folks, we went through a lot. We showed you Democrats being idiots. And Todd and I were talking about what we want to do to talk about in the last half hour, the Rumble only part. And really, to me, it's going to lie in covering one of the biggest crimes I think I've ever seen committed. Everybody who participated in this belongs in jail. And by that, I mean the Democrats nominated a mentally incapable person. They knew it. The staff knew it. The support staff knew it. The media knew it. And they lied to the American people. And then over time, it just kept becoming more and more evident that he was worse and worse and worse. And to me, it is one of the greatest crimes of our lifetime that these people allowed it to cover up. Now, I know it's happened in the past. Like Reagan, at the end of his presidency, wasn't all there. Those people should be in jail. FDR, same thing. But this happened in one of, like right now, information is more available than ever. And it went so far that guys like Todd and I that showed the clips, that played the clips, they actually like demonetized our pages or they suppressed us. And I there needs to be atonement for this, Todd.
Yeah, I mean, you had KJP out there saying that all this was cheap fakes for Biden. They accused you when you played a video, and I have all C-SPAN videos today, Jason, of Joe Biden losing his train of thought, not getting words out, falling down, stumbling upstairs, stumbling on sand on a beach. Like, they accused you, they lied to your face, and they said, Joe Biden is healthy, you're editing videos. They lied to your face when you called out their lie. They doubled down on the already egregious lie. And yes, to your point, Jason, the cover-up of Joe Biden's health, biggest scandal of the last 4 years, without a doubt.
And that's saying a lot because there's a
That's
million scandals.
Yeah, I don't say that lightly.
Right. And I got to say, too, it's interesting with this. So I'll tell a story that I had talked about earlier. So I love poker. Daniel Negreanu, one of the greatest poker players ever. He is a liberal. He's from Canada. He talks politics. He does a podcast. And he's a classic liberal, not a crazy Democrat. I saw him on Tim Pool's show the other day. And it was fascinating because the Fine People hoax, which we've debunked, we've made videos, all sorts of things about it. Oh, yeah. You want to play
You
this
want to
clip?
play it?
Yeah,
Well,
let's play this.
For me, I was a believer that he said, Nazis are fine people. Okay. And I believed that for a very long time. I'm embarrassed to say so. Then someone says, did you watch the video? I said, yeah. No, the whole video. Oh, I never saw the whole video. It was never on my, my news channels. Then I watched it and he said, wait a minute. Literally after he says that, he says, I'm not talking about white supremacists or neo-Nazis. And I'm like, well, what else has he done? Then the bloodbath thing. He's talking about the auto industry, clearly a financial term, bloodbath. And they twist that into saying that, there's going to be civil unrest. So like when you do that, you lose people like me in trusting your narratives and what you say. When you say that, well, when Trump's assassination attempt, on CNN it says Trump fell at a rally.
When you finally watched that video, how soon did you find yourself an encounter with another believer that you were trying to convince?
Well, I remember showing it to my wife, right? Because she'd never seen it either. And, she's obviously, been a liberal-minded person her whole life. And when she saw it, at first, it's like you have to listen to it twice because you're like, wait a minute, no.
Did
They really did every single media outlet for all these years and continued this. I was very disappointed, frankly, when Obama on the campaign trail was repeating that same final. Yeah. I was so disappointed. I thought like, man, I think at that point he's like, we've lost, we're going to lose. So I'm going to throw everything at the kitchen sink to try to win this.
That's a really common thing that I hear from people that are former progressives or whatever you want to say. There's this guy on this podcast called the All In Podcast.
I know. I know all these guys.
Chamath said the same thing, and he was like, he's like, I couldn't believe that Barack Obama was repeating this absolute bald-faced lie, and it's true. It is rather shocking that something that is such a blatant, just above the board lie, was repeated and repeated as if it was true. Even the current, even the old man, Joe Biden, said, well, the reason that I ran was because Donald Trump said this. It's like he didn't even say that.
Well, for so many years, the credibility went unchecked, right? If the news said this is what it is. There was no way to find out whether or not that was true or not. You just got what you were told. But now, obviously, with the resources we have and platforms like yours and others who can dissect and question everything, in an authentic way. And again,
I got to say, the point Daniel Negreanu is making here. So this is a guy who is rich. Like the guy's worth 20, 30, I don't even know how many millions of dollars. He is relatively plugged in. He actually became a citizen. He applied for U.S. citizenship so that he could vote for Hillary. Like, this is as liberal as you get. And it always struck me, and he's one of the more intelligent people you'll meet. Like, guy is just super smart. And, oh, Todd, we didn't shut down the Facebook streams.
Whoa.
Anyways, skip.
I don't think we got too spicy.
Yeah, good thing we didn't get too spicy. Facebook, we'll see you later. Join us on Rumble.